Over the past few days, we've brought you a series of reports about how Taiwan is strengthening its military and society in order to fend off aggression from mainland China. Tonight, Nick Schifrin looks at how, in recent years, the people of Taiwan have increasingly identified themselves as Taiwanese, not Chinese, in everything from food to sport. This is all part of our series, Taiwan, Risk and Resistance.
Welcome to Clarissa Wei's kitchen.
It's interesting to see how this dish has evolved.
She's teaching me a classic Taiwanese dish.
Today we're making beef noodle soup.
Served with a dash of history.
People don't realize even the diversity that is in this island.
And a side of politics.
In terms of our political stance, who we are as a country, we are Taiwanese. So now we're going to add in the noodles.
Wei is the Taiwanese-American author of a Taiwanese cookbook whose family has lived on this island for 2 centuries.
I'm using black soybean soy sauce today, and that's very unique to Taiwan.
Turns out, in this pot of beef noodle soup is the melting pot that is Taiwan.
All of these ingredients together, to me, it really tells the story of resilience and what it was like in the 50s when the Chinese refugees came over fleeing the Chinese Civil War.
Formosa, last-ditch stronghold of the Chinese Nationalist Army.
In 1949, Chinese nationalists lost the Civil War to the communists and fled to Taiwan, also called Formosa.
This concept of a Taiwanese identity is very new. In my parents' age, they did not identify necessarily as Taiwanese.
But today, Taiwan's identity is a proud democracy with influence from indigenous tribes, a half-century of Japanese colonial rule.
Our rice vinegar is actually made in the Japanese style, not the Chinese style.
And 75 years of U.S. presence.
People have brought different food cultures, different food techniques, and where we are right now, people are sort of combining that together to form something that is very uniquely Taiwanese.
A uniqueness that Wei says has fused because of Chinese behavior and Chinese military action directed at Taiwan.
There is a politics involved with that Taiwanese identity, as created in part by Beijing's coercion and aggressiveness.
Yes. When I say, beef noodle soup is Taiwanese, it is incredible how many people are mad at me from the other side. Taiwan has never in its history been ruled by the People's Republic of China, and that has made a huge difference in our culture.
So what am I smelling in this?
A lot of spices, so there are peppercorns in there.
It's not just about taste,
cardamom,
it's about how it makes Taiwanese feel.
Oh, and the beef is so soft. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even though this was invented from people from China, they were fleeing the People's Republic of China. And then they created this in Taiwan, as an act of resilience, as an act to feed their family. And this is the product of Taiwanese history.
Creating their own food, creating their own identity.
Exactly.
That identity can also be seen in a different kind of fusion of America and Japan.
Taiwan's national identity is heavily shaped by the United States, which has had a presence on the island for decades, but it's also shaped by the island's Japanese colonial era. And it was Japan who brought the national pastime to Taiwan, baseball.
Taipei recently hosted qualifiers for the World Baseball Classic. Looks like your local Sandlot. With a few enthusiastic, color-coordinated additions. And in the booth upstairs, Tseng Wang Cheng was calling the game. He's been a commentator for 40 years and a fan for even longer.
So this is the souvenir room.
Back in his home, he shows off his favorite keepsakes, Taiwan's most famous major leaguer, Tseng immortalized in bobblehead, and Tseng with Taiwan's former president wearing the uniform of his favorite team.
I grew up just like every other kid in Taiwan. I've loved baseball since I was little. Baseball was my childhood, my everything.
It was introduced during the colonial period by Japan. So how has it become Taiwanese and part of the national identity?
Taiwan has faced challenges gaining international recognition and establishing itself as a nation. But when our baseball team competes, wins, and earns respect, it feels like we're putting Taiwan on the map. It's more than just a sport. It gives us a sense of pride.
The crowd reacting too, big time. Line back to the glove. Shu makes the catch, and the inning is
And
over.
yet, under Olympic Committee rules created by Chinese pressure, the team competes internationally not as Team Taiwan, but as Chinese Taipei. That's led to a coded gesture of national pride by the team captain, who framed his jersey where he says it should say Taiwan, an act of defiance repeated by Taiwan's vice president and backed up by Astrid Huang.
I don't like other people, other countries call us Chinese Taipei. I think we are Taiwan.
There is not unity here about Beijing or identity politics.
Especially for Chinese Taipei, we need to win today.
Yes, you do.
But as people here increasingly identify themselves as Taiwanese and not Chinese, so they consider themselves Team Taiwan.
The name Chinese Taipei is something we had no choice but to accept. But deep down, we all see ourselves as Team Taiwan, not Chinese Taipei. So whenever there's a chance to highlight our true identity, we take it.
An identity that many here say is made in Taiwan. For the PBS News Hour, I'm Schifrin in Taipei, Taiwan.